The Chronicles of Prydain is a pentalogy of children's high fantasy Bildungsroman novels by Lloyd Alexander.Henry Holt, published one annually from 1964 to 1968. The second earned a 1966 Newbery Honor and the last won the 1969 Newbery Medal. The 5 novels follow the protagonist Taran from youth to maturity, most overtly in the 4th book, Taran Wanderer.Taran has the title assistant pig keeper at Caer Dallben, but initially dreams of being a grand hero. His most important companions in adventure are Princess Elenwy, a girl his age, Fluda Flam, a wandering bard and minor king, Gurgi, a wild man-beast, and Dolly, a dwarf. Inspiration and development. Thematically, the novels draw upon Welsh mythology, particularly the Mabinogion. The novels are not, however, retellings of those myths, a point Alexander himself makes in an author's note for the Book of 3. Stories have been conflated, and characters have been changed in both role and motive. So a student of Welsh culture should be prepared as Arwen becomes the book's dark arch-enemy and Gwydion's negative traits are replaced with unclouded heroism. Appropriately, the author's note also reveals the geography is ultimately derived from Wales, though Alexander notes that Prydain is separate from Wales both in physical geography and history. Always interested in mythology, Alexander received army combat intelligence training in Wales during World War II. That exposed him to its castles, scenery, and language, which became part of the raw material for the Prydain books. Originally he planned to write 1 or 2, 3 at the very most. At one point he planned a trilogy with titles The Battle of the Trees, The Lion with the Steady Hand, and Little Gwion. In Welsh mythology, the former features the sons of Don led by Gwydion against the forces of Arwen, and the legend of Gwion concerns the bard Taliesin as a boy. Later, a 4-volume series would conclude with the High King. The editor felt that something was missing between 3rd and 4th volumes, so Taran Wanderer was written 1 month after the Castle of Llyr was published, making it a 5-volume series. The stories that are now collected in The Foundling and Other Tales of Prydain actually were published in 3 different volumes, 2 picture books and 1 short story collection. Most of these act as backstories which fill in gaps for minor characters, but others are just short stories that stand apart from the books. Setting. Prydain's geography, culture, and names are based on ancient Wales, especially the tales of the Mabinogion. Prydain is a magical land engaged in a series of battles with its neighbor, Annavon, the Land of Death. It is the setting for 4 of the 5 books in the series. Once ruled over by the evil Queen Acrin, Prydain was liberated by the sons of Don, who established a new kingdom at Caer Dallben. The High King rules over all the land, seconded by his war leader, with many subject kings ruling the various territories of Prydain. Called Cantrevisis, only the free comets, a land of craftsmen who answer only to the High King, are outside any subject king's jurisdiction. Significant locations in Prydain include Caer Dallben, the farm homestead of the enchanted Alban, Caer Llyr, the ancestral home of the House of Llyr, Spiral Castle, Acrin's fortress, and the marshes of Morva, a haunted swamp that is home to the witches Ordu, Orwen and Orgot. Underneath and within Prydain is a kingdom of the fair folk, a diminutive supernatural race that mostly keeps to its own affairs. The fair folk have no love for the Death Lord Arwen. However, they occasionally aid the humans of Prydain against him. In addition to the races of men and fair folk, Prydain is home to the sons of Don and the descendants. Other varieties of creatures such as the undead cauldron-born, the monstrous bird like Gwythanes, and oddities such as the furry, Human-like Gogi also reside in Prydain. Reception. Having garnered a Newbery Medal and a Newbery Honor, Prydain is widely recognized as a valuable contribution to children's literature. Decades after the publication, the Chronicles of Prydain hold their own in sales and readership and may be comparable to children's fantasy series, such as the Chronicles of Narnia. Ruth Hilfiger's read in the 1969 Critical History of Children's Literature. Like most good fantasies, the books are related to humanity. The characters have failings but also the potential for greatness. In 2012, the Book of Three was ranked number 18 and The High King 64th among all-time best children's novels in a survey published by School Library Journal, a monthly with primarily U.S. audience. Characters are grouped first by the one of 5 chronicles where they first appear, then by appearance in short stories only. According to Alexander, nearly all of the proper names in Prydain are from Welsh myth or history, perhaps all except Ellenwy and Taran. The Book of Three. Taran is a young man who grows from early adolescence to an adult over the course of the series and lives with the enchanter, Dallben, and the aged warrior Col. He is charged with taking care of the oracular pig Medwyn, and throughout the series is known under the title of Assistant Pig Keeper. The series follows his coming-of-age journey. Princess Ellenwy is a friend and later the love interest of Taran. When she is being formal, she calls herself Princess Ellenwy, daughter of Angarad, daughter of Regat of the royal house of Llyr, in reference to her mother and grandmother respectively. Her father, Geraint, was a commoner. The women in her line are formidable enchantresses. She has inherited this characteristic, most readily visible in her manipulation of a magical item she calls her bauble, a small golden sphere that can glow with magical light when activated by her willpower. Ellenwy is described as having red gold hair and bright blue eyes. She is very smart, witty and sarcastic, but at the same time quirky and scatterbrained. Her speech mannerisms are very distinctive. She often employs unusual similes and metaphors. She has a preference for going barefoot, and when she has to wear shoes, they are usually sandals. Llwyd, son of Gordo, is a cantref lord of Prydain. He is referred to as a king, but it is made clear that he is a very minor king of a tiny kingdom at best, much less important than the High King who rules Prydain. His kingdom is described as being dreary and dull. As a result, he often leaves it to go wandering as an unofficial bard, though he returns from time to time to rule. He once mentions that he gets the feeling that the people of his country get along just fine even if he's not there. Gogi is described as being some sort of cross between man and beast, having long arms covered with fur and leaves, and ever hungry but really just a sort of a kind of a thing. His manner of speech is filled with rhymed pairs of words and redundant phrases. He refers to himself in the third person. Gogi is humble and loyal toward his human companions, at first submitting even to Taran as a noble lord. Dolly is one of the fair folk, a nation of fairies, and other magical beings who live in an extensive underground kingdom that spans the entire country of Prydain. Dolly is described as a short, stocky dwarf who carries a number of weapons including a battle-axe. He is adept in many skills including hunting, fighting, as well as magical skills such as turning invisible. Medwyn is a white sow. She is an oracular pig with the ability to prophesy about future events and reveal hidden information. Originally she belonged to Col, but most of her maintenance was delegated to Taran when he received the title of Assistant Pig Keeper in the Book of Three. Dallben is described as an ancient man with a long white beard. He lives on the farm known as Caer Dallben, where he acts as protector of Col's oracular pig, Medwyn. He also is the guardian and mentor of Taran, the protagonist of the Prydain Chronicles. When first introduced in the Book of Three, he was already 379 years old. Besides the lessons he teaches Taran in protecting the oracular pig, and when Dallben's main activity on the farm is meditating. Those who know him recognize him as the most powerful enchanter in Prydain, and while his displays of power are quite potent, they are used sparingly. Gwydion, son of Don, the High Prince of Prydain and companion of Taran on many adventures, he often leads the forces of Don against the forces of Annefyn. Cole occupies his time with farming, though prior to that he was a warrior. He was the original owner of the oracular pig, and when established the farm that became known as Caer Dallben when the enchanter Dallben took up residence there, and served as a guardian to Taran. His personality is rather amiable and modest, and in appearance he is short and burly. But his most striking feature is his bald head, which blushes whenever he is happy about something. The Horned King is Arone's champion and the war leader of Annefyn. The Horned King is described as a huge man wearing armor, a red cape and an antlered skull mask. The antlers are presumably where he gets his name. Math, son of Mythonwy, is the High King of Prydain. He rules above all lesser kings in Prydain. Math is patriarch of the royal house of Don, comprising descendants of the Lady Don and her consort, Belyn, the Sun King. Math rules with a just hand, and through his leadership Arone, Death Lord, is at least partly held in check. He dwells in the stronghold Caer Dallben, north of the Eagle Mountains. King Idleg is the grumpy and reclusive leader of the fair folk who nevertheless aids Taran and his allies in numerous battles against the forces of Annefyn. Arone, Death Lord, also known as the Death Lord, the war leader and Lord Arone, is the main antagonist of the series. Arone was once a mortal man with magical powers, one of which was to change his shape, who was tutored by the evil Queen Acren, ruler of Prydain. When Acren was overthrown, Arone, who had grown very powerful, took the Iron Crown of Annefyn and became its king. Acren became a servant beneath him but always plotted his downfall. He later came into possession of the Black Cauldron, with which he created a powerful undead army known as the Cauldron-born. He then attempted to conquer Prydain, the fictional country where the events of the story take place. He was thwarted in this endeavor by the Sons of Don, a race of warriors from the Summer Country who stood between him and world domination ever since. Acren is the former queen of Prydain, who ruled many years as a harsh and vengeful tyrant, both as ruler and then as the Death Lord Arone's consort. She originally ruled from her citadel in Annefyn, near Mount Dragon, and later moved to the fastness of Spiral Castle after Arone gained power. She secretly despises the Death Lord, who stole from her the crown of Annefyn. She is also taken with Gwydion, even though he does not reciprocate her feelings. She remains largely loyal to him after losing her powers. Medwyn, a protector of animals, like Noah. He lives in a secret valley in the mountains of Prydain that no human can find. The Black Cauldron King Smoit is the boisterous lord of Cantef and the only lord among the southern Cantefs to remain loyal to the High King. He is brash, hot-blooded, and loud, but also brave, honorable, and well aware of his faults. Though he may not initially listen to wise counsel, he will take it to heart when he finally does. King Morgant of the Kingdom of Maddox is a crow and was originally the pet of Gwistel, a fair folk officer. He is subsequently given to the series hero, Taran. Caer can talk, although only in one-word sentences, and his role in the story is to give information, to spy out the land while flying, and sometimes to retrieve lost objects from difficult places. He has a mischievous temperament, often playing tricks on his human friends and talking more freely than he should. Llyr is described as a prince, the son of a king who had nothing left to leave his son but his name and his sword. Quote, He is deeply sensitive about his poverty, and covers this with arrogance, treating all whom he does not see as social equals with disdain and contempt. Down, with the aid of a magic talisman, sees this as a black beast sitting on a Lyd's shoulders and tormenting him. Gwistel is one of the fair folk. He is described as resembling a bundle of sticks with cobwebs floating at the top. Quote, he appears sickly with sparse, long and stringy hair. He wears a mournful expression and with his anxious eyes, seems constantly on the verge of tears. His personality is no cheerier, he constantly complains and snivels, is a pessimist, and appears cowardly. Gwistel lives in a hidden underground waypost near the border of Annavon, the dominion of the villain of the series. He has a pet crow named Caer, Ordu, Orwen and Orgoka, 3 witches who live alone in the marshes of Morva. Although their identities are apparently fluid and interchangeable, each persona has a distinctive appearance. Orwen wears a necklaces of milky stones, Ordu's hair is adorned with many ornaments, and Orgok's face is shadowed by a black cowl. They were the original owners of the Black Cauldron and lent it to our own, who used it to create zombie-like warriors, the Cauldron-born. Later, they reclaimed it but were willing to relinquish it again in exchange for a magical price. Down is featured solely in the 2nd book, The Black Cauldron, although he is mentioned in the 3rd and 5th books. He is the son of the chief bard Taliesin. He is a gifted minstrel, a strong-hearted warrior, and a capable healer. His most precious possessions are his packets of healing herbs, his bay mare Luagor, and a distinctive brooch which was a gift from Arianlin, his betrothed. The Castle of Llyr. Prince Reen is the only son of King Rudlam and Queen Teleria, who rule over the Isle of Mona. By birthright, he is the heir apparent to the throne. He is first introduced in the Castle of Llyr when the Princess Elenwy is sent by the enchanter Dallben to live at the castle and gain a proper upbringing. He is described as having a round, pleasant face like his father and straw-colored hair like his mother. Glue was formerly a very small man. In his younger days he tried unsuccessfully to enter a number of careers, including slaying dragons or being a wandering bard. He found none of them to his liking, mostly due to his own sniveling disposition. Finally, he decided the only answer was to turn to sorcery, and he attempted to buy a book of spells from the enchanter Morda. Glue got the book home and concluded that he had been cheated because the book appeared to have nothing but blank pages. Actually, there was writing in the book, but it was only visible using the light from Elenwy's bauble. King Rudlam, Run's father, Queen Teleria, Run's mother. Lyanne is described as a large female cat, roughly larger than a horse, with orange fur. Her size does not diminish her natural agility or speed. However, Taran, Gurgi, Fludaflam and Prince Reen encounter her in an old cottage on the Isle of Mona. Mag has become a reasonably respected man on the Isle of Mona. However, he is also quite vain and power-hungry. He wears flashy clothes. He wore one of the finest cloaks Taran had ever seen, its rich embroidery almost surpassing King Rudlam's garment. Mag is tagged for a villain when he is described as spider-like in his movements, and he soon embodies the traits of a traitor concerned only with his own comfort and glory. As the stories progress, he becomes more and more obsessed with obtaining power and even seems to descend into madness. He is prone to gleefully call himself King Mag, and Mag the Magnificent, and eventually Mag Death Lord, at seeming times of triumph. Unlike so many characters in Alexander's works, he does not show balanced sides but is always a villain. Taran Wanderer.Taran, a farmer who shelters Taran while he is searching for his parents. Lord Gorion, a vassal of King Smoit. Lord Gast, Lord Goriwan's rival. Morda, a sorcerer who has hidden his life force away in one of his fingers so he cannot die. Dorith, a bandit. Gloth, a bandit who travels with Dorith. Craddock, a shepherd who claims to be Taran's father; Lonio, son of Lonwen, a gatherer; and Lorclay Shaper, an expert potter, under whom Taran learns to be a potter; Heveth the smith, an expert metalsmith, under whom Taran learns to forge a sword; Dwyvach the weaver woman, an expert weaver, under whom Taran learns to weave; Drydwas, son of Pebir; Classa, son of Drydwas, a struggling farmer; the High King Prydain, son of Pwyll; Taliesin, the chief bard. Prydain Publications. The Chronicles of Prydain, the book of 3 Taran and companions race to defeat an army raised by the Horned King, a warlord of Arone Death Lord. The Black Cauldron. In 1966 Newbery Honor book Taran and companions struggled to capture a magical cauldron that generates Arone's zombie army, known as the Cauldron Born. The Castle of Llyr. Taran escorts Elenwy to a royal court for her education. There she is kidnapped and he leads a band to rescue her. Taran Wanderer.Taran searches for his identity, nominally his parentage, among the cantrefs and comets of Prydain. The High King, winner of the 1969 Newbery Medal.Taran and companions join Prydain's great effort to defeat Arone once and for all. Short stories. Alexander published 8 Prydain short stories, all set before the events of the 5 novels. Cole and His White Pig and The Truthful Harp are 32-page picture books illustrated by Evelyn Ness. They feature as younger adults 2 of Taran's human companions in the Chronicles, Cole, son of Colfru and Flu de Flam, a 1973 collection. The Foundling and Other Tales of Prydain comprises 6 new stories of the same length, illustrated by Margot Zemek, and The High King map by Ness. It was dedicated to friends of Prydain, who promised to read more if I would write more. The author cited many readers of all ages, and explained that popular demand makes a splendid pretext for return to Prydain but not for covering the same ground. All 6 stories explore prehistory, before the birth of Taran, assistant pig keeper, at least 15 years before the novels. In 1999, Holt published an expanded edition of The Foundling collecting all 8 stories, The High King map, and a new Prydain pronunciation guide, with entries for 49 proper names. Contents of The Foundling expanded edition. Author's note. Map. The Foundling, the Stone, the True Enchanter, the Rascal Crow, the Sword, the Smith, the Weaver, and the Harper. Cole and His White Pig, The Truthful Harp, Prydain Pronunciation Guide. About the author. The pronunciation guide is also included in 1999 and later editions of the 5 novels. Omnibus. The Prydain Chronicles comprises the 5 novels and the 6 later short stories. That is, all Prydain fiction except the 2 picture book stories. Each novel includes a map by Evelyn Ness and each story includes the illustrations by Margot Zemek for the original Foundling and Other Tales. References. In 1989, Greenwood Publishing Group published The Prydain Companion, a reference guide to Lloyd Alexander's Prydain Chronicles by children's literature scholar Michael O.Henry Holt, the original publisher of the Prydain books, republished The Prydain Companion in 2003. The book's title is a reference to the fact that the chronicler's narration often refers to any present combination of the main characters as the companions. The Prydain Companion includes a biographical sketch of Alexander and 2 sections by Alexander, the foreword, and how to use the companion. Entries cover major characters, locations, and so on, with insight gained by Tunnell's interviews with Alexander as well as research into the Mabinogion and the White Goddess. One marketing capsule is an informative resource for formal studies of the Prydain Chronicles, as well as an excellent opportunity to delve into the fantastic workings of Prydain. Adaptations. Film. Walt Disney Productions released a Prydain animated film in 1985. The Black Cauldron is based primarily on the first two novels with elements from the others. It cost $44 million and was poorly received by audiences, failing to recoup the investment. Critics found the film pretty, but confusing and overly somber due to its dark nature and poorly written script, though Roger Ebert gave it a positive review. Production delays and embarrassing box office returns nearly bankrupted the Disney Animation Studio department. In retrospect, then newly appointed studio head Jeffrey Katzenberg was dismayed by the product, and the animators felt that it lacked the humor, pathos, and the fantasy which had been so strong in Lloyd Alexander's work. The story had been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it was heartbreaking to see such wonderful material wasted. Of the film, Lloyd Alexander remarked, "First, I have to say, there is no resemblance between the movie and the book. Having said that, the movie in itself, purely as a movie, I found to be very enjoyable." On March 17, 2016, Variety confirmed that Walt Disney Pictures had acquired the film rights to the Chronicles of Prydain, with the intention to adapt the book series into an epic motion picture series, akin to the Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings film franchises. The project is currently in early development at the Walt Disney Studios with no director, producer, or screenwriter attached yet. Audiobook. Early in the 2000s, Listening Library produced an unabridged reading by James Langton of the 5 main volumes, with author's notes read by Lloyd Alexander himself. The audiobooks were published on compact audio cassette and compact disc, and were also released for download from 2004 to 2005. No audiobook adaptation of The Foundling and Other Tales of Prydain has yet been produced.